Growing up, we've always had bunk beds. So I used to sleep on the bottom bunk and my brothers shared the top bunk. And then as they got older, they got their own beds. They got full-size beds. And then my sister got the bottom bunk and I graduated to get the top bunk. And this is the blanket that we had for our twin beds. And I always thought of it as a blanket. It didn't have an actual official name. It wasn't until I became a quilter that I realized that this is a quilt. As you can see, there's hand-stitched quilting on here. And these are quilts that my mother made. In this video, I'm going to tell you about my mother's bunk bed quilts and my plans for them. I hope you get a chance to sew along with me so you can win prizes. So I went over to my mother's house and asked her about the story about this quilt. My plan is to fill out this quilt journal to tell the story about this quilt. Growing up, we'd heard a story about a blanket that had been stolen by the security guards at the airport, and my brave mother was able to get that back. And so I wanted to know if this quilt was the one that was part of that story. One thing I know about genealogy interviews is that you can come up with a list of questions, but the best way to conduct one is to let the person do the talking. You will get information that way that you hadn't even thought to ask, and that person will feel more comfortable in actually sharing the information with you rather than making it feel like a job interview. So it doesn't feel like a job interview or anything scary like that. What do you see yourself doing in 5 years? Ugh. So basically it's just a matter of letting the conversation go the way it is. So not every question that's in this book was answered, but what I can do is the ones that I feel that are necessary to answer, I can just go back again and ask that question later and then come back again and ask that question after that. It's better to conduct it in piecemeal than all at once. And not all questions need answers. Some things just don't apply to the quilt in question. I think this is a great thing to do, not just for quilts, but any heirlooms that you have, is to document it and tell the story, because something that's priceless to you, something that's memorable to you, is nice. If my daughter, for example, had seen this quilt in my house, she would know that the quilt had any significance, and she could have tossed it with everything else. So when I went over there, I didn't record the interview. I just talked to her, and there was a lot of information that I got about her work as a seamstress. I got information about her sewing machines. She gave me some information about the sewing machines that she's owned. She also showed me the quilts that she's made. I didn't remember that she had made a quilt for my brother, and so she showed that one to me, and it was really nice to be able to see that. I never really thought of my mother as a quilter. I thought of her as a seamstress, but after seeing all these quilts that she's made, she definitely is a quilter, and she's been making quilts a lot longer than I have. So I guess I did get the quilting bug for her, even though I didn't know it. So let me go over the story about the blanket that was stolen at the airport. We came to the United States in 1972, and we were only allowed to carry what the plane would allow us to carry, which is 40 pounds per suitcase. All of our worldly belongings came over in one trip. Everything that we could bring over was what the plane would allow us to carry, what the plane and the people in the country allowed us to carry. And there was a problem at the airport in that there's a limited amount of money that you could take. And apparently some people were hiding money, like dollar bills and jewelry, into their blankets, into quilts that they made. And so a quilt like this, you could hide some money in there, stitch it up, and people would not necessarily know that it's in here. And because of that, there were people who were confiscating, the security guards were confiscating some quilts. And part of it may have had to do with the fact that, if they liked it, they would want it and they would take it anyway. And so it wouldn't matter if there was a good reason or not for it. And some of it may have had to do with the weight of the things, because there was a strict policy about how heavy the suitcase could be. And when you're putting all your worldly belongings into a suitcase, you may not necessarily always gauge correctly how much weight there is in the suitcase, and you want to take as much as you possibly can without going over. And my father wanted to keep his books. Which is things that he didn't think that he'd be able to replenish. And my mother wanted to keep warm things because she knew that we were moving from in a country that's near the equator to a country that is not near the equator. Ohio is not anywhere near the equator, and also it was late October when we moved, so we were heading into the winter season at that time. So she was very worried about keeping her children warm. So this is actually the blanket that was taken at the airport. It's got this beautiful design on here. It's woven. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is wool. It has been washed, and some of the colors did bleed a little bit. Here's a section here. You can see easily that it was blood here. Actually, the whole thing is kind of tinged a little bit with the orange. But as you can see with this beautiful design that's woven, you can see why the security guards wanted to keep that at the airport. My brave mother, she fought back with the security guards to let them know that she really needed to have the blanket, that her children needed to be kept warm, and you know that were moving to some place where winter was really strong. And I think the security guard took pity on her, and they realized that she was not going to back down. She was going to keep the blanket, and so they finally let her have the blankets for us. So for my 15 minutes to quilt today, I'm going to be stitching on some patches on my bunk bed quilt. Have you ever wondered which of your quilts are going to become heirloom quilts? Are they the beautiful ones that you spent millions of hours making? Or are they going to be the utility quilts that people loved using to keep themselves warm and to get comfort when they were sick, and use them as tents and played with them? Today I want to show you a quilt that my mother made that I consider to be an heirloom quilt. My plan is to fill in this quilt journal to tell the story of this quilt. The secret word for today is story. This book is going to help me tell the story of both my mother making this quilt and also of the changes that I make to this quilt since I have owned it. It's a beautiful whole cloth quilt, pretty much whole cloth, with beautiful flowers, very floral scene. It's got a little border kind of print on it. You can see that it's hand quilted with just straight lines running up and down. From side to side. And I just noticed, I hadn't seen this before, but I just noticed that there's some things that have been machine sewn. Looks like maybe she had some extra fabric and she just sewed it down with the machine. Just something that I would do. So improv style. And then this one has a border, has a light pink border, and then it's got a pink binding. The binding is sewn on the back and then flipped over to the front and machine sewed down. So there's two quilts. One of them has a blue binding, and so it doesn't have that extra different color. And for that one, it had some damage. It didn't actually have a binding, and this blue fabric was folded over. And so because it had gotten a lot of wear and tear, I did bind it. I took it to the store and tried to find a color like this, and I could not find one. And I wound up finding one that was a little bit different. It was kind of frustrating to me at first that my quilt wouldn't quite match the original quilt, but then I decided that it was actually a good thing that it didn't match, because that way it was very clear which was the original quilt and what was my change that I made to it. Let me show you more of this quilt. This quilt actually has a lot more damage than the other one. So we're looking down here. This is the length of the quilt here. And you can see that the top of the quilt or the bottom of the quilt has a lot of damage. You can see here, this is where the fabric was folded over. And that is the part that has problems here. What I did with my other quilt was I just added another binding, but with this one looks like it's got more damage. Here, let me show you this part. So here you can see that the fabric is all the way over here, and this looks like it's 2 layers. Interesting. That this part has a lot of damage to it, and so I'll probably need to cover up this part here. A lot of collection of threads. One option that we could do is to just trim the quilt down here, I guess, to hide most of the damage, but you can see here there's still some fabric here that's loose, and here, so, and here. And so it seems like the quilt would have to be a lot narrower in order to cover all this damage. Let's check the other side of it. Okay, this is a twin size quilt. You can see that this side has a lot of damage to it. We'll just go around all the edges. This one has a pink binding, and it looks like it's fine. And the quilt in this side is in pretty good shape all the way around here on this side. So the whole length is just fine. Try the other width. This one has a little stain on it, but no big deal. But then here on this, as you go farther down, this is the binding, and it looks like it's got some minor damage to it. So this side probably does need another binding, and I don't know if I would just like trim it off and rebind it, or maybe take out these stitches and then bind them that way. And then you go farther down the other side. Let's see this side. There's a curved corner here. We'll go farther down. This side looks pretty good. It's got some staining here, but I can try to wash it again to see if I can get it cleaned. And if not, I think it's a stain that's okay to just leave in, because this is an old quilt and the history of the quilt is good to maintain. Okay. And then last corner. And then we're back to the original side that we were looking at earlier. Now I'm looking on the other side again, just to make sure that I was looking at the other side again. This is the one with the little diamond set stain, and there is actually some damage over here too. It looks like this just has layers of fabric in here, and I realized that this was maybe a 2-layer quilt. And this looks like the batting looks like it's an older, maybe a mattress protector or something like that. But there's a problem here too. So this quilt would have to be, if I trim it down from both sides, it's going to lose a lot of width to this quilt, and I don't want to lose that much width. So one thought that I had, I've been looking at Quilting quilts, which is mostly just a foundation, which is where you take a foundation and then you add different fabrics to it. And I'm thinking that this might be a good idea for me to use for this quilt, is just to patch up the little spaces. And I figured, to me, it looks like this quilt would be a lot easier to patch than it would be to trim it down. And actually found some fabrics that would kind of coordinate with this. They don't have to match exactly. To me, I was thinking that using a large variety of fabrics to patch up will make it match better than using just one, because the one that doesn't match will be very obvious that it's not matching. And so my thought process is just to add a whole bunch of different blues and greens and maybe some purplish pinks, just to patch up all the spots that are having problems. And so I actually had found some fabrics to use to patch it up, but then I wound up losing it, because who stores scraps of fabric with their quilt? But now I figure I'll just grab something. This is random fabric I just picked up, and I'm not sure if I'll use this one or not. But if I can just cut something that's big enough to cover this area, then I can just patch it with this. And I would do the same thing that my mother had done, is to just hand stitch down all the way around, which is what a Quilting quilt is, where you basically just stitching it down with hand stitching. You just go around and around. You just go around and around a quilt to be able to get to it, and starting from the outside. And I think for this one, I can just patch it that way. And even though my mom's stitches are all this way, I don't think that going this direction is going to be a problem. I'm going to hand stitch it instead of machine stitching it, because I think that that will kind of help with, kind of go with the mood of the quilt. And I like hand stitching, and I'm going to be some practice on making Kiwandi quilts before I actually make a real one. And also, some of this damage is on both sides of the quilt, and so I'll have to find a way. I'm not sure if I'll just do one side at a time and then just have extra stitches on the other side, which may be okay, I think. Or I could go ahead and try to make the fabrics on both sides, maybe baste it, and then I can stitch it that way. Yeah, it looks like the batting is okay. It's just, I was initially thinking that there might be a problem with the batting, but the batting is just fine. It's just the fact that the fabric has kind of shown its age over time. And so I just need to cover this up with something else. Cover up the naked spots with something else. Instead of plaiting the whole quilt all at once, I think I'm just going to go ahead and just patch it piece by piece. And so I can take this pink scrap that is from my Lupin and Laughter mystery quilt and just put it right here. I don't know if it's too bright, but I think it'll be fine. It's the right color, so it'll be fine. And then I have this big blue piece, and I can add that somewhere on top like this. And I will be turning under the edges, so I will be turning under these edges so that I won't have a raw edge over here. This one's already folded anyway, but this one, I guess, as I'm sewing, I can go ahead and sew the turn down edge first, and then I can sew the rest of the rows. And because it's a small piece, I'll probably need more rows than this big piece. This is like an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches apart, and this one will have to be a lot denser quilting. I hope that you had a chance to sew today, and if you did, just leave a comment to let me know what you worked on, and you can win an entry in the drawing. You can win another entry by using the secret word of the day. The winner will win a copy of the Quilt Journal. I have a link in the description box if you want to buy your own copy of the Quilt Journal. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.